Miss, your table is ready.
Thank you. But I didn't come here for the food.
Then, why are you here?
I came to see you.
Every billionaire in the city could have dined anywhere they wanted. Yet one woman kept returning to the same luxury hotel for a reason no one could understand. The staff believed she came for the five-star service, but her eyes were never searching for the food, they were searching for one humble waiter. Rumors spread throughout the hotel as employees wondered why one of the richest women in Africa smiled every time he served her table. Little did they know, this was the beginning of a love story that would surprise an entire city. Some people judge love by wealth, status, or appearance, but this unforgettable story would prove that the heart chooses differently, and this is how it all began.
Why are you here?
Her name was Maria, one of the youngest self-made billionaires in Africa and the owner of several successful companies. Despite her incredible wealth, luxury cars, and worldwide fame, she often felt a loneliness that no amount of money could ever erase. Every week, Maria visited the city's most luxurious five-star hotel. The staff believed she came to enjoy the world-class cuisine, but no one noticed that her attention was always drawn to the same young waiter. His name was Daniel, a hard-working young man who worked long shifts to support his widowed mother and younger sister. Although life had never been easy for him, he treated every guest with kindness, respect, and a genuine smile that came straight from his heart. Maria quietly watched the way Daniel greeted every customer with humility, never expecting anything in return. She admired not his appearance or his job, but the goodness of his character, a rare quality that money could never buy. As the days passed, Maria found herself returning to the hotel more often than ever before. It wasn't the luxurious meals, elegant music, or breathtaking views that drew her back. It was Daniel's quiet kindness that made her feel something she had never experienced. Unlike everyone else, Daniel had no idea who she really was. He treated her with the same respect, patience, and genuine smile that he showed every guest, never expecting tips, favors, or special treatment. One evening, Maria accidentally dropped her designer handbag as she stood to leave. Before anyone else could react, Daniel hurried over, carefully picked it up, and returned it with a warm smile, refusing the generous reward she offered. As Maria walked toward the exit, she couldn't stop smiling. For the first time in years, she had met someone who valued kindness more than wealth, and she knew this was only the beginning of a story that would change both of their lives forever. The following evening, Maria returned to the hotel once again. This time, she requested the very same table and quietly hoped that Daniel would be assigned to serve her. Daniel welcomed her with the same warm smile he offered every guest. He had no idea that the elegant woman sitting before him owned companies worth billions. He simply believed she was another customer who deserved kindness and respect. As they talked, Maria asked Daniel about his life. With quiet humility, he shared that he worked every day to provide for his widowed mother and younger sister, believing that true success meant taking care of the people you love. Maria listened in silence, deeply moved by his sincerity. In a world where so many people admired her wealth, Daniel unknowingly reminded her that the greatest riches were found in a kind heart, unwavering integrity, and selfless love for family. From that day on, Maria found herself looking forward to every visit to the hotel. She wasn't searching for luxury or attention anymore. She was searching for the genuine smile that Daniel greeted everyone with. One evening, as Daniel served her dinner, Maria noticed an elderly guest accidentally drop a wallet onto the floor. Without hesitation, Daniel picked it up and returned it with a warm smile, refusing the generous cash reward the grateful man tried to give him. Hidden behind a menu, Maria quietly watched everything unfold. She realized that Daniel's kindness wasn't an act to impress anyone, it was simply the way he chose to live his life, whether someone was watching or not. As Maria left the hotel that night, she smiled to herself. She had spent years surrounded by people who admired her fortune, but now she had finally met a man whose greatest treasure was the goodness in his heart, and without knowing it, she was beginning to fall deeply in love. A few days later, Maria arrived at the hotel earlier than usual and quietly watched Daniel from across the restaurant. She noticed that he treated every guest exactly the same, whether they were wealthy business executives or ordinary families celebrating a special occasion. As the evening grew busier, one of the hotel's richest guests suddenly became angry over a small mistake with his order. The man raised his voice in front of everyone, embarrassing Daniel and demanding that the hotel manager fire him immediately. Despite the harsh words, Daniel remained calm and respectful. He sincerely apologized, corrected the mistake without arguing, and continued serving the guest with kindness, refusing to let anger change his character. Watching from her table, Maria admired Daniel even more. In that unforgettable moment, she realized that true greatness isn't measured by money or power, it is revealed by how someone treats others when life becomes difficult. As Daniel finished serving the last table of the evening, Maria quietly walked toward him with a gentle smile. "Would you join me for a cup of coffee after your shift?" she asked politely, surprising him completely. Daniel froze for a moment, glancing around the elegant restaurant to make sure she was speaking to him. No wealthy guest had ever invited him to sit as an equal, and he wasn't sure how to respond. After a brief pause, Daniel smiled respectfully and accepted the invitation. That evening, they sat together in the hotel's quiet rooftop cafe, talking not about money or business, but about family, dreams, and the simple joys of life. As the city lights sparkled beneath the night sky, Maria realized she had never laughed so freely with anyone before, and for the first time, Daniel began to wonder why such an elegant, successful woman seemed genuinely interested in an ordinary waiter like him. As the evening came to an end, Daniel politely thanked Maria for the coffee and prepared to leave. Before walking away, he smiled and said, "Thank you for treating me like a person, not just a waiter." Those simple words stayed in Maria's heart long after he was gone. The following morning, the hotel was buzzing with excitement. Staff members rushed through the lobby after hearing that one of Africa's most powerful billionaire CEOs was scheduled to visit the hotel for an important business meeting. No one realized they had already been serving that very billionaire for weeks. Maria had never revealed her identity because she wanted someone to know her heart before knowing her wealth. As Daniel adjusted his uniform and prepared for another busy shift, he had no idea that by the end of the day, a secret would be revealed that would leave the entire hotel in complete shock. Just before noon, a long line of black luxury SUVs rolled into the hotel's grand entrance. Security officers stepped out first, followed by elegantly dressed executives who quickly prepared for the arrival of their company's CEO. The entire hotel staff stood in perfect formation to welcome the distinguished guest. Daniel watched with curiosity, wondering what kind of person could command such respect and admiration wherever they went. As the rear door of the lead limousine slowly opened, everyone held their breath. To Daniel's complete surprise, Maria stepped out with quiet confidence, dressed in an elegant business suit, while dozens of executives greeted her with, "Welcome, Madam CEO." Daniel stood frozen in disbelief as the truth finally became clear. The woman he had shared coffee with, the woman who treated him like a friend, was one of the richest and most powerful business leaders in Africa. The hotel manager immediately rushed toward Maria and welcomed her with the highest level of respect. Every employee lowered their heads as she walked through the grand entrance, but Daniel remained frozen, struggling to believe that the kind woman he had come to know was actually the billionaire everyone admired. Maria noticed Daniel standing quietly among the staff and smiled warmly at him. Instead of walking past, she stepped out of the line of executives and greeted him just as she always had, saying, "Good morning, Daniel." The entire lobby fell silent. The manager, executives, and hotel employees stared in disbelief as one of Africa's most powerful women spoke to an ordinary waiter as though he were an old friend. Daniel smiled nervously and greeted her back with respect. In that unforgettable moment, everyone realized that Maria's greatness wasn't measured by her wealth but by the humility and kindness she showed to every person she met, regardless of their position. The news spread through the hotel within minutes. Every employee whispered the same question: why would a billionaire know an ordinary waiter by name? Rumors filled every corner of the building. Some workers assumed Daniel had secretly come from a wealthy family. Others believed he had done something extraordinary for Maria. But no one knew the truth, that she had fallen in love with his kindness long before they knew each other's status. Later that afternoon, Maria finished her business meeting and walked toward the restaurant. Instead of leaving with her executives, she looked directly at Daniel and said with a warm smile, "Would you have dinner with me tonight?" The restaurant became completely silent. Every waiter, chef, hotel manager, and guest turned to Daniel, waiting for his answer, while his heart raced faster than ever before, wondering if this unbelievable moment was really happening. That evening, Daniel stood outside the hotel in a simple navy blue suit, still wondering why Maria had chosen him. He had spent the entire day asking himself the same question, but no answer seemed to make sense. Moments later, a luxurious black Rolls-Royce slowly pulled up in front of the hotel. Maria stepped out with a graceful smile, dressed in a breathtaking royal blue designer evening gown, taking Daniel's breath away. During dinner, Daniel finally gathered the courage to ask the question that had been on his mind from the very beginning. Maria, you're one of the richest women in Africa. Why would someone like you choose an ordinary waiter like me? Maria looked into his eyes and smiled gently before replying. Because when everyone else saw my money, you were the only person who saw me as a human being. You never treated me differently, and that's the man I fell in love with. Daniel sat quietly, overwhelmed by Maria's words. For the first time in his life, someone admired him, not because of what he owned, but because of the person he had chosen to become. Looking into Maria's eyes, Daniel smiled humbly and replied, I never knew you were a billionaire. I only saw a kind woman who treated everyone with respect. That's why I enjoyed every conversation we shared. Maria reached across the table and gently held his hand. In that quiet moment, she realized she had finally found someone who loved her heart. Before her success, a love she had searched for her entire life. As they left the restaurant together, photographers waiting outside suddenly recognized Maria. Camera flashes lit up the night as headlines began spreading across the city. Africa's young billionaire seen on a romantic date with a hotel waiter. Neither of them knew that by morning, their lives would never be the same again. By sunrise, every news channel, newspaper, and social media page was talking about the mysterious relationship between Africa's billionaire businesswoman and an ordinary hotel waiter. Some people celebrated their love, while others mocked Daniel, accusing him of chasing Maria's wealth without knowing the truth. When Daniel arrived at work, whispers followed him through every hallway of the hotel. A few jealous employees laughed behind his back, claiming that he didn't belong in Maria's world and that their relationship would never last. That afternoon, Maria returned to the hotel not as a customer, but as the hotel's majority shareholder. Standing confidently in the grand lobby, she addressed every employee and said, Daniel never knew who I was when we met. He respected me long before he knew I was wealthy. That is exactly why he has my respect. The entire lobby fell silent with embarrassment. The people who had judged Daniel because of his job finally realized that true character is measured by kindness, honesty, and humility, not by titles, uniforms, or the size of a bank account. The following week, Maria invited Daniel to attend the annual charity gala hosted by her company. The event brought together presidents, CEOs, celebrities, and some of the wealthiest people in Africa, and Daniel wondered if he truly belonged in such a place. As they entered the magnificent ballroom together, hundreds of guests turned to look at them. Some smiled with admiration, while others whispered in disbelief, unable to understand why one of Africa's richest women had chosen a humble waiter. During her speech, Maria walked confidently onto the stage and surprised everyone. Looking directly at Daniel, she said, People often ask why I chose him. The answer is simple. Money can build companies, but only character can build a family. Daniel is the richest man I have ever met, because his heart is priceless. The room erupted into applause as Daniel stood speechless, tears filling his eyes. In that unforgettable moment, he realized that Maria hadn't fallen in love with his profession or his status. She had fallen in love with the man he had always been. As the applause faded, Daniel slowly walked onto the stage with tears in his eyes. Looking at the hundreds of distinguished guests before him, he took a deep breath, trying to find the words that could express what his heart was feeling. He gently held Maria's hand and smiled. I came into your life believing I was just an ordinary waiter, he said, but you showed me that true value isn't found in a person's job or bank account. It's found in the way they love, respect, and care for others. The audience stood in silence as Daniel reached into his jacket pocket. To everyone's surprise, he knelt on one knee, took out a simple but elegant engagement ring, and looked into Maria's eyes with unwavering love. Maria, he said softly, I may never become the richest man in Africa, but I promise to spend every day making you the happiest woman in the world. Will you marry me? Tears of joy filled Maria's eyes as the entire ballroom waited breathlessly for her answer. Before Daniel could stand, Maria gently wiped away her tears and smiled from the depths of her heart. Looking into his eyes, she softly replied, Yes, 1,000 times yes. The ballroom instantly erupted into thunderous applause as cheers filled every corner of the hall. Maria helped Daniel to his feet and embraced him tightly. In that unforgettable moment, photographers captured the image that would soon appear on newspaper front pages across Africa: a billionaire and a former waiter proving that love is greater than status. Months later, preparations began for what many would call the wedding of the decade. Guests from around the world arrived, not simply to celebrate the union of two people, but to witness a love story that had broken every stereotype about wealth and social class. As Maria walked down the aisle toward Daniel, both of them smiled through joyful tears. Looking into each other's eyes, they realized that the greatest decision they had ever made wasn't building companies or earning money, it was choosing to build a life together. As the pastor pronounced them husband and wife, the cathedral echoed with joyful applause. Daniel gently lifted Maria's veil, and with tears of happiness in their eyes, they shared their first kiss as husband and wife, while their families celebrated around them. Outside the cathedral, thousands of well-wishers gathered to congratulate the newlyweds. Luxury cars lined the streets, photographers captured every smile, and flower petals floated through the air as the couple waved to the cheering crowd. During the wedding reception, Maria stood before her guests with a heartfelt smile. "Many people believed I was looking for someone with wealth," she said, "but I was searching for someone with a good heart." Daniel reminded me that character is the greatest treasure anyone can possess. Daniel looked at Maria with gratitude and gently held her hand. In that beautiful moment, they both knew their greatest success wasn't the companies they had built or the fortunes they possessed, it was finding a love built on humility, trust, and genuine respect. 1 year later, Maria and Daniel had built more than a beautiful marriage, they had built a life filled with purpose. Although Maria remained one of Africa's most successful businesswomen, she often reminded people that the greatest investment she had ever made was in the man who had captured her heart with kindness. Daniel never forgot where he had come from. Instead of leaving his past behind, he partnered with Maria to create scholarships and hospitality training programs, giving thousands of hardworking young people the opportunity to build better futures. One afternoon, the couple returned to the same luxury hotel where their extraordinary journey had begun. The staff welcomed them with smiles and applause as Daniel warmly greeted every waiter and cleaner, reminding them that every job deserves respect and every dream deserves a chance. Standing together in the grand lobby, Maria smiled proudly at her husband. She realized that true love doesn't change who you are, it inspires you to become the best version of yourself while helping others rise along the way. As the sun slowly set behind the city skyline, Maria and Daniel stood hand in hand on the rooftop of the same luxury hotel where their story had begun. Looking down at the bustling streets below, they smiled as they remembered the day a billionaire met an ordinary waiter and how a simple act of kindness changed both of their lives forever. Daniel turned toward Maria with gratitude shining in his eyes. "You taught me that love doesn't ask where you come from," he said softly. "It only asks who you are when no one is watching." Maria rested her head gently on his shoulder and smiled peacefully. Together, they had proven that wealth could open doors, but only humility, respect, and a sincere heart could build a love strong enough to last a lifetime. As they watched the golden sunset disappear beyond the horizon, they knew their greatest achievement wasn't fame, success, or billions of dollars. It was finding each other and showing the world that true love sees character before status, kindness before wealth, and the heart before everything else. True love is not measured by wealth or status. It is measured by the kindness of the heart, the strength of character, and the courage to love without conditions.